dance is actually more effective than any physical activity, including taking prescription medication and talk therapy for depression. Our culture is all just pumping pills and telling people to go talk therapy and spend a ton of money. It's like, yeah, or you can just dance, man. Very low fixed costs. It's a really nice way of starting a business. So I don't have any cash flow issues. Business comes in, everyone gets paid, and I'm not on the hook. This is not going to be a $100 million business, but it could be a $10 million business. I'm going to build the machine so it can run without me. It's the unique combination of everything you do that makes a beautiful experience for people. And I truly believe that because I know what it took to do this and I know everything we're doing, and it's not by accident.
Salsa immersion company, like a dance immersion company, totally new concept to me. And I bet to a whole lot of our listeners today, this is a totally new concept. And I am really excited to learn about how you started this company. So before we hop into that real quick, give me a couple minutes on your origin story. Let's get some context as to who you are and how you got to where you are running Somoloco.
Yeah, totally. So I was a Spanish major in college. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but by the end of it, I realized that I was passionate about doing something that felt meaningful, that was helping other people. And I learned of social entrepreneurship as a concept. It didn't really mean a lot more than the words. It's like, oh, we're just going to help people through entrepreneurship. Okay, cool. And pretty early in my career, I was able to go to India on a Rockefeller Foundation fellowship and do that type of work and get exposed to healthcare in India using phones. And this is in like 2008, 2009. I was like really inspired by that. So being just kind of delusional about my own abilities, I decided to go snoop around research labs and found some research at MIT that was doing a smartphone powered eye test back in 2009 and managed to start a company with this professor and PhD student on this smartphone powered eye exam and got venture funding, and it was a whole story of my life. We had a lot of success and we were in 140 countries helping people get eye tests that didn't have access to before. At the same time, I was feeling like I didn't have outlets for a lot of my joyous side, a lot of my creative sides. I felt like it was in a very cerebral, high stress place all the time. And I danced salsa one night and I was like, holy cow, this feels good. I want more of that. Really inspired the joy in me, the flavor in me, the infectious sides of me. And so I really leaned in hard to that. And I landed in Colombia and I was going to dance for a month just to become someone who felt these emotions all the time, not somebody who just popped in and out. And I had such a beautiful experience. I ended up spending 5 months dancing full time and then spent much of the next 3 years in Medellín, Colombia, just pursuing all these artistic endeavors that filled me in ways that entrepreneurship didn't, but that it's not because entrepreneurship was bad. It was because I had other parts that needed to be filled. And I felt like this experience was so beautiful for me. I should share this with other people who maybe don't have the same outlets that I didn't have it, when I was in Boston doing my first company. And since then, we've been doing it since 2018. We host people from all around the world for these salsa dance immersions. And that's a beautiful thing. So along the way, there's been some other journeys and, helped turn around some other companies and been a small investor in some other things as well. So I've been around this space for, over 15 years as an entrepreneur for the most part. And now I'm focused full time on Somoloco.
All right. The definition of serial entrepreneur. Can you tell me, okay, so introduce us to Somoloco and dance immersion, in this case, salsa immersion. What is the concept? How does this work?
Yeah, so I think these days people are pretty familiar with what a yoga retreat is, right? You go to Costa Rica or anywhere in the world and you spend a week doing a lot of yoga and other surrounding activities that are conducive for you to, feel good, connect with people, etc. So what we're doing, you could say, is similar to that in spirit, right? It is a 1 to 4 week period where you go to Medellín, Colombia, and you immerse yourself in dance and specifically salsa dancing. So the goal for us is for people to come in from any background and really learn how to technically perform this dance, to do the dance, but also to really feel the dance. And so that's a little bit different than just taking classes. That's about what's really the essence of this art form, and allowing people to work with the best dancers in Colombia who live and breathe this art form in an environment that is perfectly curated for people to really let go and feel these emotions. It's super positive. It's super inclusive. It's super fun loving. And yeah, you're like touching each other and you're expressing yourself. And it's like, what a cool thing to do, particularly if you don't come from that background, to have that experience. 1 week can be transformative for people, but people spend up to 4 weeks with us. So it's really something I'm very interested in is immersive experiences or embodied experiences where There's something about changing your context where you spend significant time in a different place, often under a different kind of identity, right? This is not the you from your default world. This is a new you. Maybe your name is Brian in America, then it's Brien in Colombia. Like they call you a different name. Well, all of a sudden you start feeling different about yourself. Maybe you speak Spanish and it's going to change the way you feel about yourself because it's not the default you. This is a new you where you get to be playful. You get to experiment. You get to open up to a new part of yourself that wants to come out. And this gives you the space to let that part of you come out and really practice it and really become it. And so at the end of it, people become, confident social dancers of salsa, but also just more confident people. Their cups are filled. They got the joy, they got the flavorful side, they got the perfectionist side. And it can really be something that not only is just this temporal experience, but something that you can take forward in your life for years to come because it's now part of you. It's not this idea of you. You did it, you felt it, and you did it consistently for at least a week. And that's the transformative power of it.
So this can almost be like a reset for many people where, maybe you've been in the grind or the 9 to 5 for a handful of years, or you just need to switch it up and you go spend 3 weeks in Colombia and dance, right? Like you said, you become someone different and you're able to open up and you have different feelings than you would have during your day to day. So this is not just an immersion type of business. This is kind of like helping people, I don't know, reset their mental, right? It can have a much deeper effect, it sounds, than just going on a trip and learning how to dance.
100%. I mean, we could talk about this from many different perspectives. There's been research that came out recently, and it wasn't just the first study, it was actually a meta-analysis of various different research studies that studied the benefits of dance on your mental health. And what it showed is that dance is actually more effective than any physical activity, including taking prescription medication and talk therapy for depression. So for people who are not feeling well and they want to, feel better, dance is actually the most effective thing you do, much more than talk therapy and SSRIs. And it's like, wait a second, our culture is all just pumping pills and telling people to go talk therapy and spend a ton of money. It's like, yeah, or you can just dance, man. But it's like easier said than done for people who are like, well, I got 2 left feet. I'm not from that culture. I'm not going to do it. And it's like, we have an option for you. We have a way for you to go do this right now. And it is for everybody because it's a human thing, right? Like we have bodies, we move, right? Like we have voices, we can sing. No one's saying you have to be a performer. Salsa is not about being a performer. It's about feeling it, right? To me, dance is a feeling art first, a visual art second. What I mean by that is just by doing it, you are practicing the art form. It doesn't matter what you look like because that's not the point. Point is how you can be something. You can be joyous, you can be flavorful, you can be affectionate, you can open up to yourself, whatever's there, right? And that's what dance gives you, this freedom to be who you are and know the cultural things like you got to be the way. It's none of that. When you're dancing, that's your holy space. So we have a lot of people who are in their eat, pray, love moment, I think is what you're kind of referring to, whether it's like burnout from career, big breakup. Those are the 2 biggest ones. And frankly, that was what happened to me. I was burned out and then breakup. And I was like, I got to dance salsa. I was like a rock climber. I had a motorcycle before. I was like a very, sharp knife type of person. And I was like, I got to soften it up, man. Like I can't sustain it like this. Salsa was like the best thing ever for myself.
Yeah. Well, and think about it. It combines so many good things just health wise. Like you're moving, right? So movement, you're up and you're moving around, you're releasing endorphins in your brain, and then you're listening to music, right? And probably music you don't listen to often. So it's new and it challenges your brain to be open to another form of music. And you get to meet people, right? It's a social interaction. So it's like all of the best things that, like you said, like people, on, medications all the time. It's like, maybe you just need to get out and dance. So I love that aspect of this business so much. All right, so let's dive in on the business side of this. When you first set this up, how did you do it? The concept of it, did you locate, it sounds like you were in Colombia, so maybe you had some connections, whether it's teachers or leaders of the program, space to do this. How did that part of this work out?
Yeah. Yeah, there was a few steps. So the first step was I went there just to dance out of my own personal interest. So this was all very organic out of my own, like, I want to dance salsa. I want to deep dive in it. And so I did a lot of it. And by doing a lot of it, I got to know everybody. And I formed authentic relationships with people who I ultimately started working with. I mean, people that I work with now, I've known for almost a decade at this point because I dance with them. And it wasn't, I was dancing with them to start a business. I was dancing with them because I was like, I love this. I want to dance. I want to do it. So it was a really, kind of organic way of building relationship, which I think for this type of business matters a lot because it's so relationship driven. Anytime you work with people, it's relationship driven. But I think, we work with Latin Americans. I think the relationships matter a lot as well, in forming trust and, motivating people. So there was that. Then there was a V1 before the current version of this business where me and this other guy decided like, hey, the independent dancers here are making nothing by working for studios and they don't have any freedom. Like the studios really lock them down. So as somebody who's like, okay, I don't believe in that. I don't agree with that. The artists should be making more money and they should have freedom to be artists, not just be locked down in a dance studio all the time. How can we help unlock that? So what we did in the first version of the business was create value for what you call the supply side of this business, which is the dance instructors, by SEOing a website and using a Facebook bot to like basically route in people who wanted classes to local instructors. Very transactional. It didn't have a lot of spirit. Like it was literally called Salsa Classes Medellín. Like couldn't be more, one-to-one, without any feeling or anything. And it was a way to create the infrastructure of doing this type of model that we do, of bringing people in and allocating people to the right instructor based on their background and their style and things of that sort. And it also built a ton of goodwill with the instructors that now it wasn't just me as a dance student. It was me as somebody who is like providing, value for them, providing business for them. At the same time, Somoloco as a brand, I had created really as my creative laboratory, just out of my own musings, right? I just was like feeling things out when I was in Medellín. I was like, we're all kind of crazy in our own way. And that's a beautiful thing. Whatever creative force that made it that we're actually here right now did it for the reason that I just exist and I'm now here. And so that's a beautiful thing. Like I just happy to be here. And I feel like it's a spiritual practice actually to be more me and for all of us to be more us. And it creates more harmony in the world. So if we can remove the judgment, we can just be curious and we just, be curious about, our own crazy is basically what I'm saying. We're all going to be better off. So Somoloco comes from that place of deep oneness, inclusivity. We're all nuts. Let's just forget the judgment and just enjoy the fact that you're unique, right? So I created a lot of art through that kind of brand. And at some point I was like, well, I have this transactional, like early pilot business that I'm not really into transactional businesses. I want to create an experience. I was into this idea of, immersive experiences and creating a brand and storytelling, all that. And then I had Somoloco, the brand that I was already making art in. And I was like, well, I just kind of put these things together. And, what I saw was, look, there's something really special in Medellín, Colombia with this dance community. Like they're amazing people, amazing dancers. I know the right people and I've been doing the thing. So I know also how to structure a program because where everything I did for myself is what we do now in our immersions. The whole format, the whole outlay of the week is everything I fine tuned for myself. So it's very dialed in for people to really learn and immerse in this space. So it was through my own experimentation that allowed me to really be like confident of the product that I'm offering to people, which is basically an experience. And I was like, I know the studios, I know the accommodations near the studios, I know the people to work with. It's like have all the things here, the elements here to create a good experience. And I already pilot tested it to a degree with this first version of the business. So at that point I was like, I might as well just create a website, work with some friends through New York to get like amazing photography done, create an Instagram account and start throwing up some ads, Google ads and meta ads. And that was kind of the beginning of it as what is Somoloco today. And, what I knew about the model was like, well, I have really minimal upfront investment in this besides the website and the photography. There's really no fixed cost yet. I'm working with everybody kind of on an ad hoc basis. Like when we bring in customers, that's when people are now going to get paid, but I'm out of no true fixed cost. So very low fixed cost is a really nice way of starting a business. And I'm only really paying people out when I get paid. So I don't have any cash flow issues. It's really just like when business comes in, everyone gets paid and I'm not on the hook, so to speak, financially. So that was really attractive to kind of start that way. And I also knew that this was, coming from my time before I had, VCs and I had partners and I had to deal with a lot of the challenges of doing that in my first company. It was really attractive to me to have the autonomy and the opportunity to not have to have partners or investors. That this type of business, because it didn't have big capital needs up front, I could literally just bootstrap it and, self-fund it, right? Because it was just going to work on its own
Hmm.
steam in that sense. And that's really what it's done ever since then. Then, it still was roughly that concept is still true. And I think the other fundamentals was, building a brand, building an experience that had a lot of things together versus a transactional business allowed me to, have higher margins and, you know, and charge more than what you see a lot in the dance world. In the dance world, like people, they're not providing the same level of experience and they're also very transactional. I think for that reason, they don't charge a lot of money and they have to play more on volume. And that wasn't what I was interested in. I was like, I want to play on quality, play on brand, play on experience, and then I can increase the price and have nice margins and less volume, which also when you're charging a certain price point and no one else is, that also gives you an advantage when you're trying to bid on ads and things of that sort, because I can now compete
Hmm.
all of them since, their CAC needs to be a lot lower than mine. So I can just gobble it out.
Yeah. Okay, so what does this look like in practice? So like how long are these trips? How many of them are there? How many people are on them? And then one of my questions I really am curious about is your pricing structure, your pricing model, and how you created and how you got to where your pricing is now. But what does that all look like as the business stands today?
Yeah, so we host people anywhere from 1 to 4 weeks. So we have different price points for whether it's 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, 4 week. It starts at 1950 US for 1 week. And then we give discounts for multiple weeks. So instead of, 1950 times two for 2 weeks, we give a couple, $100 off discount. Same thing when we go 3 weeks, 4 weeks, etc. We have what we call group immersions, which happen on specific dates each month. And the idea of a group immersion is that for that week, people are going to come from all over the world for the same experience at the same time. Outside of that, we accept people all year, all the time on a rolling basis, again, from 1 to 4 weeks for what we call private immersions. The itinerary and everything is the exact same thing, but you're not necessarily sharing experience with people from all over the world. You might just be with our people, which is a preference thing. People are going to sometimes want the social aspects of people from all over the world. Some people can be like, you know what, I just want to hunker down and be in this culture and be with your people and be in the dance. And I don't necessarily need to be with people from all over the world, going out to lunch and going out partying at night. It's fine. Right. So we get both. And, that's really nice for me because we can accept people all the time. We're not just limited to certain weeks of the year. So we don't have to say no to people who can't come, you know, June 10th or the 17th. They could come any other time and for as long as they want, and we'll receive them. And so I built business so we could receive. So we were able to work pretty much all year round versus doing it. We're just going to do a couple, we'll do a few trips here and there. This is not how I thought about the business or the product for that matter, right? Because certain retreats was like, oh, well, we need to have a retreat and we need to have a retreat for X amount of people. We're going to fill it. This whole thing is our immersions work, even if it's just one person from an experience perspective, right? It's not like you're
Hmm.
going, and if you were the only person, all of a sudden, like you wouldn't get the value. You would still get the value because the value is about you doing the dance with our people, the other people that happen to be there too. That can be the value. And if that's why you're making a decision, you would join a group immersion. But that's not necessarily true for a lot of people. Some people are like, I'm down to just go myself. I'm fine with not going to other people. Or you come down with your partner or you come down with your friends. But there's a lot of other versions of reality that work for us, which means we have a lot of capacity to take people, which is really nice. That again, I don't have fixed costs to pay for it. So it's like pretty nice.
Wow. Okay. So what's all included on one of these trips? Because I could see maybe, friends or a couple or someone being like, this is also, this is like an immersive vacation for us, right? If they're going to do like a 2 or 3 or 4 week trip. So what's all included? Is this a package deal like housing, lodging, and food and all that? Or what does that look like?
Yeah. So we do airport pickup and drop off. We do the hotel, which is, service apartment, with a kitchenette, and, it's very modern. It's got gym in the building. It's got a sun deck in the building. It's got a beautiful cafe, co-working. We obviously, the whole dance thing we set up. So it's 15 hours a week of one-on-one private instruction with two of the best instructors in Colombia. And so those are 3 hours daily, what that amounts to be. So every morning, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., you're in one-on-one dance classes, first with your first teacher, second with your second teacher. So it's split, two classes in that 3 hours. We do a welcome dinner. We do lunch with the teachers. We do a visit to this really cool, like classic bolero bar with like vinyl records everywhere and live bands. And maybe the best pizza in Colombia is right next door. It's this little artisan pizza. They have this like blue cheese, almond sliver, apple slice. It's, honestly, to me, it like rivals what I get in New York. Like, I love it. And it's just like this, like small town vibes. Like, it's kind of amazing that it even exists. As we take people to things like that. We take people to one of our dancers' country houses called the Finca. It's just out of the city. It's sort of nature. It's beautiful. You get home cooked meals. You obviously get into the dance out there too. Artisan things, stories from her parents. Like, it's a very off the beaten path experience where you're getting the feeling of what it's like to really be in this culture, not just dance culture, but salsa culture, not just salsa culture, but Colombian culture. These are not things you're just going to find on Airbnb experiences or you can find on any other website. There's 2 nights of group classes. There's 2 nights of salsa classes, 2 nights of social dancing with the teachers. So the teachers come out with you and dance with you, or like a whole crew. So it's really like several different types of experiences that have dance and also non-dance things for you to, enjoy it, as well as some free time and space to do other things. So we give people, off time where they want to go explore. We give a welcome pack and instructions about everything else they might want to do. We have a full-time trip leader, i.e. their concierge, who helps route people to whatever they want for any needs they want. Hey, I need to get money from the ATM. Hey, I want to buy some clothes. I want to buy some shoes. Hey, I want to go party tonight. He's a full-time dancer as well. He's a core part of the team. So it's really like helping people have a beautiful experience, and he's always there. He's coming to the welcome dinner. He's coming to the social dancing. Like, he's very much part of the experience. And that's whether you come yourself for private immersion or you come for the group immersions too. We do local transport too. So we like take care of all the Ubers and getting people all over the place so people don't need to worry about it. So the whole point is like people come and they just chill. They can just chill and just enjoy it and really lean into the vibes and lean into the learning. And yeah, like after that, I'd say the last thing is that people are part of our global community. So we have a vibrant, WhatsApp community of people all over the world who've been on our trips for years at this point. And people use it for all types of things related to like, hey, I'm struggling with going to social dancing and no one's asked me to dance. What do you guys do? Or, hey, I'm going to this like salsa congress in Toronto. Is anybody in Toronto right now? Oh yeah, I'm in Toronto. Come hang out. And it's only growing, obviously, because the more we do this, we have more people coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And, at this point, we've really dialed the experience in. Like, we've been doing it for years. We just won TripAdvisor's Traveler Choice Award, which is given to the top 10 experiences in the world. So we've got this thing dialed in.
Wow.
So people are just constantly sharing with their friends, like, yo, I just did this. It was amazing. You should come next time. People tell their families. One couple come, her sister's coming with her whole family. So this is just like how this business keeps on going. Like, as long as we perform what we're supposed to perform, which we're very intent on doing that, the word of mouth like keeps on picking up. People talk about us on Reddit really well. So we do well on Reddit too. At the end of the day, the consumers, they're going to say this was great or not. So I think like we've done a really good job at like really doing well on our customers and providing a great experience, and also making sure that we share their stories, but also they share the stories too. Like, that's it. You have a good product. That's a good starting point for building a business.
Yeah, I'd say so. So how do you manage this business? Are you in New York most of the year? Are you in Colombia during a lot of these excursions? What does it look like for you as the owner of the company?
Yeah, I'm in New York pretty much all the time. I'll go here and there to Medellín, but not too often. I mean, I'll go there, whether we have a special VIP guest, maybe it's an influencer that I want to partner with, or a big dance school that I just want to be there for, or just frankly, yeah, just like connecting with my people, just checking in, just seeing how everything's going, just, evolving it, taking photos, videos, being part of the marketing side of it. But otherwise, I manage it remotely. I have a team, and this was, something that was a design point from the beginning. I was like, I'm not going to be the person that is leading these immersions. in person. That's not what I'm doing. I'm not doing that. I'm going to create a team that can do it when I'm not there. I'm going to create the experience. I'm going to create like some quality controls. I'm going to bring on the right people. I'm going to train them. I'm going to manage them, and I'm going to build the machine so it can run basically without me. And that's what it is today. I've got a team that is great and I rely on them. And, I think it's a pretty different way of doing something like what we're doing. If you want to bucket us into calling us retreats, just for the sake of conversation, most people are like individual retreat leaders that go off and do these experiences. And I think that's very intensive on their time and not as scalable if you're the one building the business. So for me, like that wasn't interesting. But to be able to do what I did, I needed to have like real resources and relationships with people that I could trust to do this. So that's,
Mm-hmm.
you can't just like all of a sudden decide like, oh yeah, I want to build a team there, and they're just going to do it. It's like, okay, well, they don't know you. So, and you're just not going to be there.
Yeah.
Right.
Walk us through that process. What does your team look like? How large is your team right now? And what are some of the positions? And I guess, how did you build that team from the ground up?
Yeah. I mean, the most important roles obviously were like operations on the ground because, for me, I
Mm-hmm.
was like, it wasn't like, for me, it was fine to do the remote work. So that's like building the website, doing the marketing, like all the administrative, things like that. Like, it's fine. I'll do all those things. But to actually operate it on the ground, like I need people on the ground to do that. So I already mentioned that it was already in the dance world down there. I danced a ton. I had all these relationships. I created value for people. And so that part wasn't challenging to be like, okay, here's the people that I think would be good for this role. But then it was just like trying things out with people. It was like, hey, I'm doing this new thing. You're available? Well, what is it? Okay. So then it's like, oh, here's what it is. Okay. You're saying what it is, but I also have this other thing going on, like paying me full time. So it's like a lot, there's like a lot of, like trying things out effectively, trying things out with certain people who I already had a relationship with to see, could you be somebody that could, be a teacher with us? Can you be somebody that could be a trip leader, which is this, for us, it's basically like responsible for making sure people have a great experience, which includes the planning and project management as well as the support. So we have somebody who's full-time doing it. In the early days, it was harder because I was like, well, I'm not going to pay someone full-time over like having sporadic people come. So it was a little harder. It was a little bit more ad hoc, and I had to find the right person who was capable of doing the job, but also had a flexible schedule to be able to kind of pop in and do it and then not, which was operationally challenging actually. But for me, it was a better way of doing the business to get to the point where we actually can fund somebody full time. So now we have a full-time trip leader. He was a dancer. I've known him for many years. And, the cool thing about him, and then I'll share someone else that also works with us outside of just, the dance instruction, is that, he kind of just stepped up to the plate. He saw what was going on. He's like, like he started stepping up. I saw it. And then he basically, without being overly direct, because, he didn't want to be pushy, he basically offered his, what he was capable of for the business. And I was like, you know what? Great. Yeah, I do want you to do that. I had to make a switch at some point from somebody who was kind of half in, half out to somebody who was fully committed. And I was like, and now I'm ready to, put the money down and bring you on full time. So he came as the dancer, and he was at that stage in life where he was ready to do this type of role, which I think is such an important part of hiring, is like, is this the right person for this role at this time? So important. And then we have a social media person that also came on the way. She's a dancer of ours as well. And she was just like, like I do social media and marketing. I feel like I could help you. And I was like, all right, let's try it out. And she tried it out. She was good. And I was like, great. And so that was that. It's like people stepped up that I already had relationships with in this world, which is actually the best way ever because they're dancers and they get it and they live there. I mean, it couldn't be better, because if I hired from someone on the
Right.
outside, they'd probably be a lot more expensive. They wouldn't necessarily know dance as much. Right. Like there's ways of making, there's a million ways to skin the cat. But for me, it happened in an organic way. I also wasn't like overly pushy about this business. It wasn't like I was on a clock that I was like, I need to solve this right now. I was actually running this business as a
Mhm.
side thing in the beginning. And then at some point when it reached a certain level, I was like, you know, actually I'm going to go spend a bunch of time on this right now because has potential and I want to see how far I can take it. But until that point, it was a side thing. And I was just like, this is cool. I'm going to keep on putting time and energy to it. So long story short, going back to the team, we have a trip leader who's full-time in Medellín. We have a social media person who's full-time, near full-time. We have a bunch of dancers we work with that are on contract, basically. We just work with them whenever there's somebody that we want to place them with. And we have a few other people that we work with for different aspects of the experience. Like this guy who's a salsa historian that we work with for years. Somebody who does tours, a different vendor for airport pickup and drop off and that sort of thing. So, there's probably 20, 30 people involved. Then obviously like on my side, like there's people I work with ad hoc for design. I've got, a developer that I work with. These are people that, are all like international people. There's people literally from 4 continents that work on this, which I think is pretty normal these days. But obviously there's an advantage. You can find somebody who's good and they're a lot more affordable to do the work. There's a small business person who's, cash strapped, like, yes, do that. And then, at this point for us, it's like looking at I'm trying to actually delegate more so I can, spend more time on things that are highest value for growth. But that's only because we've reached a certain stage in the business where that it's kind of like makes sense for that. In the beginning, like I couldn't delegate out everything because it was too early to do that. For this type of business, it's not, something at venture scale, you could like raise a bunch of money and delegate out a bunch of things because you've got like massive funding and it's got a huge upside. Something like this is like more like my personal thing and it's very niche. So it's not like this is not going to be $100 million business. It's just not, but it could be a $10 million business. So,
Right.
But to get there, like I need to spend a lot of my time on it in the beginning to kind of have control and make it the way it needs to be. But then once I'm like, okay, I'm pretty clear this is what it is. Now let me get someone else to go kind of take care of that function so I can focus on other things. So that's where my head's at right now.
I love that. So you said it's not going to be $100 million business, but it could be a $10 million business. So that leads me to my next question on pricing. How did you decide when you were first starting out what to price your trips at? We have a little bit of idea of where the pricing stands right now, but how did you decide on that number and, going through the tribulations of raising the price, or can you explain how that worked out for you?
Yeah, I think at first I just looked at what else was out there, like similar types of trips. So I was definitely looking at, things like yoga retreats, because for me, it felt like an equivalent or adjacent type of offering. And then also just what people might be paying in general for dance excursions, which is kind of less of a thing. Like it is a thing, but not in the way that we're doing it. And I wanted, at least in the beginning, to, not be overly expensive that people couldn't afford it. Like I wanted it to be, like I didn't want this to be like a luxury offering. I wanted this to be more like for everybody. But obviously, like I was looking at my margins too. I was like, okay, there's typical margins in travel and these types of experiences. Like I don't want to be under that. So basically it was those two things, like the external market, like what's normal, my margins, and like what I thought like people in my demographics might pay for it. But to be honest with you, in the beginning, it's like, well, I don't really know yet who my customer is, truly, right? I know who I am. So I know that I'm like talking to people like me on some level. That's going to be one market. There's going to be other people that are also going to be our market at some point that I only know once we go there. So we'll figure that out later, right? So it started with something.
Yeah.
Definitely was lower than what we have now. And then, yeah, I mean, I just started increasing it like each year. We've also added to the experience and we've added costs to make it more professional. So it's very natural also with inflation, like just all these things, just like I had no qualms, no issues with it. I just did it. I just updated the pricing on our website, like at some point each year. And that's just what it was. And we haven't had an issue with it. And I think that probably will continue. I mean, now that we've won this award and we've also again continued professionalizing and getting better, I think we'll continue to, true up the price accordingly. I think obviously there's like psychological bands that you have to get past. If you go from like, if someone has, something priced at $85, now all of a sudden they're $125, it's like, whoa, you're over 100 now. Right. So those things I think are interesting psychological things, like what band is your market thinking about a price at? Because I think if you're within the band, it kind of doesn't matter, right? So if you're at like 75 versus 95, it's like, yeah, you kind of just go to 95. You're still kind of way above 50, but you're not at 100 yet. So I think of it like in these bands. Is my market down for this band? If my market's down for the band, you can go to the upper side of it. Obviously, but still thinking about margins.
Right.
Does, like the margins matter? And also for us, like it's about value, it's about experience, it's not about cost. So that's the other thing. Like people, you could price based on, okay, this cost me, $100, cogs. And so I want to make a 50% margin on that. And that's it. And I don't think about things that way. I think that's really reductive. And, I think like with us, 1+1 doesn't equal 2, 1+1 equals 5. Like it's the unique combination of everything you do that makes a beautiful experience for people. And I truly believe that, like 100% believe that, because I know what it took to do this and I know everything we're doing and it's not by accident. But people might be like, oh, well, I could just get dance classes for X cheap price. I'm like, yeah, you could do that, but it's not going to be the same experience. Trust me. And so I think consultants have to do this a lot often. And I think it's wise for anybody to go through these exercises, like, focus more on the value, less on the cost of goods for thinking about pricing. And know that depending on what you offer, like people will do that calculation. Some people are going to do the calculation. Well, I could get this. So you have to have a really cogent story about, well, why should they pay the more, like that extra margin if they can kind of reverse engineer what their costs probably are, right? If it's that type of product, you're going to have to justify it somehow. It's going to be part, and that's going to be like a brand marketing thing that's important. But I do think like getting pigeonholed in the cost, at least for our type of business, doesn't make sense.
Is this a pretty high margin business?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. It's hard to beat a remote operated business, high margin, tons of value provided, lots of happiness, I'm sure, too. So, David, we're bumping up against time here, man. I could keep going because this is such a cool concept for a business to me, but I want to thank you so much for joining us. And before we go, I definitely want to make sure that all our listeners out there, if they want to either follow you or learn more about the business, what are all the best ways to be able to do so?
Yeah, for sure. So you could visit us at somoloco.com. That's SOMOLOCO.com. And our Instagram is Dance Somoloco, or also Dance Somoloco on all the other social media channels, YouTube, etc. So yeah, feel free to connect. You could mention my name and we could chat as well. I'll get on the DMs and love to see you guys out there.
All right, awesome. And big congrats again on the TripAdvisor award. That's really cool, man. So this is such an awesome business. And again, thank you so much for joining and sharing your time and knowledge with us. Had a ton of fun.
My pleasure, Brian. Thanks so much.